So Tim Cook is stepping down from Apple, and this guy, John Ternus, is taking over as Apple's new CEO on September 1st. And you might be thinking, why should I care about this guy who's going to be Apple's new CEO? And what does that have to do with me? But even though you don't know him, you've been living with all of his ideas because all the devices that you use are what they are because of his leadership. The MacBook, the iPhone, the iPad, the AirPods. Every tool most creators live has been under Ternus's hardware organization for years. And that's not even the full story. The reason these devices have the power that they have is because of his engineering expertise, even to the point of bringing Apple's chip manufacturing in-house. That was his idea. And that's why they've been leaps and bounds ahead of the competition when it comes to their hardware performance. They can fine-tune their software unlike anybody else to take full advantage of their custom-made hardware. And it's the reason the $1,000 MacBook Air can outperform what used to be the old high-end MacBook Pros. That's what integration looks like when it's done right. Now imagine what Apple could do with AI if they can figure out how to integrate it the way they've been able to do everything else. Could you imagine Siri actually being intelligent, right? I know it's hard, but like a man can dream, can he? And if Ternus could get it right, that would be a huge turnaround. But the tech integration isn't the hardest one. The harder one is personal. When Steve passed and Tim Cook took over, there was a lot of skepticism. I had it around whether or not he'd be able to carry the mantle after Steve Jobs because Steve Jobs was such a unicorn. But they let him cook, and look what happened. Something like $350 billion to $4 trillion. Because though Cook was tight with Jobs, he still did it his way. And Ternus is in a similar position, but people have celebrated him more than they've been skeptical, and sometimes that's harder to navigate. Apprenticing under both Jobs and Cook for 25 years, two giants with completely different styles, he'll have to avoid imitation to operate from a point of integration. Apple doesn't need a Jobs 2.0 or a Cook 2.0. It needs Ternus to be a complete 1.0 version of himself, someone integrated enough in himself to take what he learned from both of them without copying either. And that's precisely what Cook told the New York Times when he did this interview with him.
You can get kind of in paralysis if you start trying to port yourself into somebody else's thinking. So I would say, be yourself, keep a firm North Star on the values of the company.
Because that's always the story. Integrating tech is one thing, but being integrated in oneself, being integrated in yourself when leading a company like this is the real exponential. And if Ternus gets that all right, he'll turn around a lot of things Apple's been struggling with into a valuation that'll go to Mars well before Elon does.